Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for new stories from Yellow Cat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. Do you have any, well that shut 'em up stories from working in customer service? One of my favorite stories from my brief time in customer service was when a man who called up the night after a minor hurricane screaming that his service didn't work, that he had complained multiple times, and this was the last straw. Clearly, our service sucked, and it was our fault his cable was out. He kept cutting me off and calling me rude names when finally I just interjected. Sir, your cable isn't out because of an issue with our service. Your cable is out because a tree branch fell across the cable line. What's that? How do I know? Because you live at 78 Fakenemy Road and I live at 75 Fakenemy Road. I saw the branch fall. I'm the one who went out in the rain last night to get a branch out of the street. In fact, I know you. It's a branch because I could see you looking out your window at me moving the branch that fell on your property. Not only that, but when I was done, I went inside and called into work on my day off to arrange a bucket truck to come out and rerun the cable so you could beat the rush of calls that came in all across the island due to the storm. You didn't even have to call. A truck is already en route. Well, that shut him up. That's a cool thing to say, OP. I despise that kind of customer. It's like, I saw it and I understand, but let's call customer service and get hysterical about something that wasn't their fault. But he was out of luck. I used to work for a grocery store in high school as a cashier. One busy Saturday, an older lady came through my long line with about $150 worth of groceries. Among her items was a prepackaged piece of meat from our deli department that is normally priced by weight. Her meat did not have a printed sticker on the package, and I would have needed to find a bag boy or manager to run to the deli to get it priced. Because we were super busy, I decided to wing it and set it on my scale. Looks like it's almost a pound, so let's say $2.77. Does that sound fair? I begin to ring it as a miscellaneous item. No, it does not sound fair, she yelled. You need to get that priced. Groans from the line began behind her as I found a bag boy to run to get the price sticker. A manager came by to see what the commotion was about, and the lady explained the situation. I explained why I had made the decision I made. The manager, of course, stuck up for the lady, which we laughed about later, and she accepted the apology. We then waited for what seemed like an eternity of eye contact avoidance and thumb twiddling. The bag boy came back and handed me the pork. I smirked and showed her the price. $2.78. I would have saved you a penny. The man behind her chortled. Never saw her again. Your story reminds me of an interesting experience I had when I was a young man working a register at a grocery store. Instant karma, dude. Waited longer than she could and also paid more. It's not much of a penalty, but it's still nice. I used to work overnight shifts on weekends from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m., and they were super dull as there were maybe 3 of us in the store at any given time, and mostly we were stocking shelves or reading magazines. One night, I had a lady come in and do what appeared to be her weekly shopping at around 1 a.m., and she's watching me scan all this stuff in when I come upon some sort of produce that I had never seen before. It looked like a cabbage, and I assumed it was one, so I typed in the number of cabbage. She hits me with, "That's not a cabbage, that's an X," the name escapes me now, "and they're much more expensive than cabbage." So I flipped through the book full of produce codes, so many numbers to remember, and I don't see X anywhere in the list. So I tell her, hey, I can't find it in the book and nobody else is here to ask, so tonight you're getting it at the price of a cabbage, and finish ringing up her stuff, a few $100s worth. I go about my night as I normally would, and I think it's all good. Turns out it's not. The next time I have a day shift, maybe 2 days later, I get called up into the store owner's office right as I punch in. Turns out, someone called and told the manager that I was giving away produce at reduced prices, and she was very unhappy about it. I play dumb. Of course I wouldn't give away any produce. It must have been a miscommunication between me and the customer, and I'll see that it doesn't happen again. All that BS. I was blown away. I saved this lady a few dollars and she narcs me out. What was I supposed to do anyway? Nobody's around to ask how the H I ring this item up. It's 1 a.m. So I do her a favor by saving her money, and she turns around and tells my boss. Thank God I got out of there quickly. The only perk of the job was sneaking beers from a big stack of them in the back. These beers had been orphaned since we would sell them individually as well as in the 6-pack they were packaged throughout the night, and being able to just read during 75% of my shift. But yeah, what the H, lady? That kind of pees me off. You help out and they're not happy with you. I mean, I understand if she paid more than she had to, but it's less. Live and enjoy yourself. For example, I had a situation where 2 almost identical kinds of frozen shrimp were sold at different prices. My friend and I took the shrimp that looked better and weighed them for the price of the smaller ones. There was some sort of self-service. The cashier didn't even notice, but we saved almost half of what we had to pay. Used to do cell phone customer service for a call center in Canada, though it was an American cell phone company. Got a call from a right peed-off Texan who had been passed around from an agent to agent, with no one really listening to him, making him even more angry, and understandably so. So he gets to me, and he's just a whirlwind of F-bombs, yelling and swearing that I can barely make out what he's saying. In my sternest person-in-charge voice, I say, "Sir, that's no way to talk to a lady." Right away he goes, "Yes ma'am, sorry ma'am," and we resolve his issue within a couple of minutes. Oh, Texans, I love your old school gentlemen when they're not drowned out by your extreme fundamentalists. I bet he slowly took off his 10-gallon hat, ran his fingers through his hair, and hung his head in shame. So, if a lady reminds a gentleman that he isn't acting very gentlemanly, they tend to get their act in order. It's certainly an interesting thing to witness. Sadly, it doesn't work on people devoid of gentlemanliness. I worked at a photo printing lab, and we got people in all the time who claimed we were stupid and had messed up their pictures. One woman had us print 800 vacation pictures. They were bad quality, dark, and out of focus. When she came to pick them up, she insisted that we had ruined them, that they were perfect in her camera, and that she had a very expensive camera, and so there was no way the pictures could be dark or out of focus. We finally gave her money back, even though we had done nothing wrong and were out a lot of time and paper. She called us 30 minutes later and told us she was at a store across town and they had reprinted all of her pictures and they were beautiful, in focus, and nice and bright. I had to tell her that the same person who owned our store also owned the store across town, and that not only would it have taken that store several hours to reprint 800 pictures, but their printer was down that day, so they couldn't have printed anything. She hung up on me. I hate stories like this. A-hats like this never learn because decent business people so often fall over themselves trying to make the customer happy. This is why people complain and because they can get away with anything. The old owner backup. I used to work at a restaurant chain that started about 15 or 20 years back and has about 15 stores in total. People all the time would complain and release their vague threat, "I know Tommy, the owner, guy who started the chain. Do I have to call him to get some good service?" Such effing BS from so many people, but we had to put up with it because that's what you do in the restaurant business. But one time, when this happened, Tommy was actually in the restaurant. He would come in once every couple months or so and just act like a regular customer, just to kinda evaluate how things were running from a non-owner perspective. Of course, everything magically went smoother for him than any other customer. Imagine that. Anyway, this lady that had been a total B the entire night starts complaining, talking about how her meal was cold or bad or some BS, even though she had powered through 4/5 of it. She wants her money back for this atrocity. And then she drops the bombshell. "I know Tommy. He wouldn't stand for this." The only thing was, Tommy was sitting almost directly behind her and pretty obviously didn't know her, and she didn't recognize him. After getting a bit of the old discreet go ahead nod from him, I said, "Ma'am, Tommy's in the restaurant right now. If you could just point him out right now, I'd be glad to let him know what you think of his restaurants." She stammered, gave the, "No, he's not, I would have seen him," until the owner stood up and said hello. He put on the kind of sickly sweet personality where you're ever so polite but a total D at the same time. She shut the F up and paid pretty quickly after that. This lady, who has been a total B all evening, starts complaining, talking about how her food was cold or bad or some other nonsense, even though she ate 4/5 of her portion. She wants her money back for this atrocity. Why would she eat 4/5 of a portion if it was cold? It's clearly a sign that she's a fraud who wants freebies. And yes, that I know the owner type of customer. They're so dumb, they think if it worked once, they can use it on any occasion. And I love to see them embarrass themselves like that. I worked at a concession stand for a children's baseball park. It's a large park, 9 or so fields, and we get lots and lots of customers. Having lots of customers, we have to make things in large quantities, and the quality isn't especially swell. It's a concession stand, not a restaurant. Anyhow, it's about 20 degrees out, and people are ordering hot chocolate by about 5 cups at a time. Only 2 of us are working. It's funny how people magically get sick when the weather is S. The process for making hot chocolate is putting an extremely large container of water in our extremely large microwave and then stirring in an extremely large amount of cocoa powder. It's nothing fancy, but it tasted pretty good, all things considered. Late in the day, I was working the register and my coworker is running around making everything. A lady comes up to the side window screaming at my coworker about how he's ruining the hot chocolate. My coworker can't hear her, seeing as how she's yelling through a window at a guy working around a lot of refrigerator fans, among other things. She finally comes to the front counter and tells me he's ruining it. Why? I asked. Her. He's going to ruin the milk. He's going to ruin it in the microwave. Me. There is no. Her. He's going to ruin it! Me. Peter! Coworker. Yeah? Me. Pretending to get super Pete. Don't effing ruin that milk! Her. Oh. Coworker. What milk? Me. Still yelling. The effing hot chocolate milk! Coworker comes up to the front looking very confused. There is no GD milk. Me to the lady. I suppose we don't use in milk. She left looking very scared to talk to us ever again. OP, you handled that very well. I hope you had a tick and a mad flare in your eye as you turned around and told her. It would totally have worked. I guess we don't use milk. Stare, tick, tick, twitch. And I love how you're getting unnecessarily angry at the coworker to deflect the overzealous customer. Tricking your coworker into that scheme is brilliant. I can see it now. I'd probably react the same way. Used to work in a pawn shop. We got lots of jewelry in, and a lot of times the person bringing in the jewelry would have no idea that some of their stuff was fake. 9 times out of 10, they would get peed and leave their stuff with us to be thrown out. My coworker accidentally left a really gaudy but fake gold chain out on the desk one day. A customer came in, noticed the chain, and told us that we'd better put it away before someone stole it. I was about to, but then I realized I could have some fun. We ended up leaving the chain on the desk and would casually watch people as they came in to do business. We caught a number of people trying to steal the chain. One guy in particular was talking us up and gradually pulling the chain off the counter. When he had successfully pocketed it and left the store, my coworker and I began to crack up. Sure enough, about a week later, the guy came back in with the chain that he stole and tried to sell it to us. When I refused to buy it, he got peed, but then we showed him the security cam footage of him stealing it. We weren't even peed. Someone that dumb deserves to live his life that way until he walks in front of a bus. Sure enough, about a week later, the guy came back in with a chain that he stole and tried to sell it to us. When I refused to buy it, he got peed off, but then we showed him the security cam footage of him stealing it. Should have told him to either pay you $30 for stealing that gold chain, or else you'd show that video to the police. Free money. That's how you effing sell a worthless fake chain to a piece of S. And God, how silly that he came to sell exactly where he stole this chain. It's like robbing a bank and then going there to deposit the money. I was working at a gas station in a very rich part of town. During a nice summer day, a prime example of the D-bag variety of the human species drove his super expensive Lamborghini in, and the haughty, "I'm so rich you must do what I say" voice demanded that it be filled with premium. Which the attendant started to do, only the guy immediately snatched the nozzle from him and screamed that, "You're too stupid to do this on your own." We're in Oregon, by the way, where you can't pump your own gas. State fire law. Well, being that he's a D-bag and an idiot, gas spills out from the nozzle all over his sparkly D-mobile. At this point, he truly flips out and storms into the store where I'm working as the cashier and de facto manager. He immediately demands to speak to the owner and that we are going to pay to have his car repainted and he's not going to be paying for his gas. I try my best to calm the situation, but he's got a good rage going and doesn't want to be calmed down, diet. While he's spewing forth, I notice that an officer from the local police department is about to come into the store to get snacks or a drink or some such. This gives me a nice idea. "Sir, I'm afraid that the gas is in your tank and you pumped it yourself, so you are going to have to pay." Cutscene of an explosion. D-bag then asks, "So what exactly do you think you can do if I just go and get in my car and leave?" Thank you, good lord, for timing. He says this at full bellow right as the officer walks through the door. My response? Well, personally, I can't do much, but the nice West Lynn police officer standing behind you will probably arrest you for second-degree theft. D-bag turns around to see the officer with a very predatory smile on his face nodding vigorously. Yeah, he shut up, paid, and we never saw him again. I was told that Oregon's gasoline pumping law was passed because it provided more jobs for gas station attendants. Anyway, I'm surprised the guy wasn't in trouble for pumping his own gasoline. But I did like the reference to the cop's predatory smile when he realized the role he was playing, and so quickly too. I like cops who get it, and that kind of instant karma is something incredible. Guys, thank you for all the support and likes. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. See you next time.